How you doing, sir? What's with these guys? Your playhouse?
Hey, guys.
Going to call to order the City Council meeting for July 11th, 2017. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Right hand over your heart.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Madam Clerk, could you call the roll for the Housing Authority, the Council, the Finance Authority,
A quorum is present.
and the successor agency?
A quorum is present.
Any persons wishing to address the council on any of the items on today's agenda may do so at this time.
Council members, my name is Diane Sembrano. Once again, I'm going to object, as I always do, to having the public hearings at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when members of the public cannot attend if they actually have a normal everyday job. It is unfortunate that this council doesn't seem to think that the residents of this community are entitled to or have a right to participation if they work, unless they miss their jobs to show up here. Clearly, on this agenda, we have several items, including the lighting and landscaping and things that impact specific people in our community. And I know the lighting and landscape is a separate public hearing, and I'll come back to address that. But I am grateful to see that, thank you, the item I asked for last Tuesday, when we had a meeting, did appear, and I appreciate that. I'm going to ask this week that we make sure somehow that whenever we have items on this agenda, that we actually put the dollar amount that is impacted. I think the general public would like to know that the Imperial Highway project is only $4 million. And we've been waiting how long for that? Wow. Particularly since I know we have a few employees who are well on the way to $1 million. I would encourage everyone to look up some of those items and get shocked. But I'll come back with more on that later.
My name is Willie A.G., and I live in the beautiful city of Inglewood. First, I want to suggest that council meeting remain at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It's perfect for anybody who want to attend. Second, there's a lot of important stuff that you guys don't have on the agenda today, and a lot of good stuff. So I'm hopeful, and I know you guys are going to take care. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. But keep it at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Warrant register.
Move allow payment of bills.
Madam Clerk.
Council and agency members, Dodson. Padilla. Morales. Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Buds.
Aye. M1.
The approval of the minutes for the meeting held as the following: City Council, Successor Agency, Housing Authority, and Finance Authority for April 1st, 2017. I'm sorry, April 11th, 2017.
Are you gonna? I move 1 through 4.
Madam Clerk.
Council members, Dodson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye, and that's approving item 1 under recommendations for the minutes. Okay, we've done this before, Mr. City Attorney. Since all these public hearings revolve around the same topic, the only thing that's going to change is the individual interests in whichever district. So, Madam Clerk, when I call this, we're going to call all the hearings simultaneously, and we're going to give the public, except for number 1.
And 6.
We're going, and 6. And 6?
Different one.
Oh, and except for number 1 and 6. We're going to call PH2 through PH5. Madam Clerk, what is the next scheduled matter?
The next scheduled matter is a hearing to initiate proceedings for the annual levy and collection of assessments for Morningside Park Maintenance Assessment District 1974. We don't. And PH 3 is the public hearing to initiate proceedings for the annual levy and collections of assessments for the in-town maintenance assessment district number 1975-1. PH 4 is a public hearing to initiate proceedings for the annual levy and collections of assessment for the Inglewood Street Lighting Assessment District 1980-1. And PH 5 is a public hearing to initiate the proceedings for the annual levy and collections of assessments for the Darby-Dixon Maintenance Assessment District number 1987-1.
Has the notice of these hearings been given in the time, form, and manner as required by law, and do you have the affidavit on file?
Notice has been given and affidavit is on file.
Have any communications been received on any of these?
No communications have been received.
Okay. There's staff report, Mr. Fields, Mr.
Yes,
Atwell.
Mr. Lewis Atwell, Public Works Director, will give the staff report.
Thank you. Mr. Atwell.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. As you know, we do this once a year, and it's probably the most public hearings we do all at once, and it's good that we group them all together, especially since these don't change. We're actually not changing the rates. Again, good afternoon. The item before you is a recommendation to conduct a public hearing, receive public input, and adopt the attached resolution approving the engineer's report and ordering assessment levies unchanged. And this one is for the Morningside Park Maintenance Assessment District. A little bit of background on assessment district, and I'll just say it once because it is for all of them. An assessment district is a special entity sponsored by a local government agency, such as a county or city, where a tax or fee is imposed on a property or group of property owners that directly benefit from enhanced maintenance or public improvement. The Morningside District is located in the city of Inglewood. It's located south of West 84th Street, north of West Manchester Boulevard, west of South Van Ness, and east of Crenshaw Drive. Funding is provided for the repair, construction, or maintenance of parkways, parking lots, medians, decorative lighting, landscaping, and other incidental improvement activity. Services are provided 4 days per week. The annual assessment for the Morningside District, which only affects parcel owners in this district, has remained constant at just over $86,200 since fiscal year 1992-93. The actual maintenance costs incurred by the city during the previous fiscal year were approximately $153,000, resulting in a general fund subsidy of $66,793. Staff proposes that service levels and the assessment levy remain unchanged as indicated in the engineer's report. The next public hearing, Ms. Horton, do you need to mention this one again? Okay. So the next public hearing is for the in-town maintenance assessment district. This item is a recommendation to also conduct a public hearing, receive public input, and adopt the attached resolution approving the engineer's report. The in-town maintenance assessment district is located in the city and is bounded by La Brea Avenue to the east, Locust Street to the west, Regent Street to the south, and Kelso Street to the north. The district provides funding for tree trimming, street and sidewalk maintenance, sign replacements, placement of pavement markings, and other incidental improvement activities. Services are provided 2 days per week. The annual assessment for the in-town district, which only affects parcel owners in the district, has remained constant at $72,000 since fiscal year 1992-93. The actual maintenance costs incurred by the city during the previous fiscal year was $229,528, resulting in a general fund subsidy of $157,438. Staff proposes that service levels and assessment levy remain unchanged as indicated in the engineer's report. The next public hearing is for the Street Lighting Assessment District. It's also to receive public input and adopt the attached resolution approving the engineer's report. Street lighting services provided through the Inglewood Street Lighting Assessment District include maintenance and ongoing replacement of 2,400 city-owned street light poles, fixtures, lamps along major corridors in need of replacement due to outage or damage from vehicle collisions. Services also include the retrofitting of existing fixtures and energy-efficient lighting along main arterials. Landscaping and maintenance activities are also funded by the district within the major corridors. The annual assessment for the street lighting district, which affects all parcel owners within the city, has remained constant at about $2.5 million since fiscal year 92-93. The annual maintenance costs incurred by the city during the previous fiscal year were $3,618,988, which results in a general fund subsidy of nearly $1.2 million. Staff proposes that service levels and assessment levy remain unchanged as indicated in the engineer's report. And the final public hearing is for the Darby-Dixon Maintenance Assessment District, also to receive public input. The Darby-Dixon Maintenance Assessment District is located in the city of Inglewood, south of West Century Boulevard, north of West 104th Street, west of Crenshaw Boulevard, and east of Club Drive. Street sweeping services are provided once a week, and the maintenance of alleys and parkways occurs 3 times per week in this district. The annual assessment for the Darby-Dixon district, which only affects parcel owners in this district, has remained the same since 92-93 at $67,000. The actual maintenance costs incurred by the city in the previous fiscal year were $127,541, which results in a general fund subsidy of nearly $61,000. Staff again proposes that service levels and the assessment levy remain unchanged as indicated in the engineer's report. That concludes my presentation.
Two, three, 4, or 5.
Longer call it lighting and landscaping as we used to. Now it's just lighting sometimes. But I guess that's probably because as someone is so quick to point out that they think they have saved money trimming trees, we actually killed a whole lot of trees. And when you kill them, they no longer cost anything to trim them. Part of the lighting and the landscaping that I see taking place in this community is revolting and disgusting because you have taken away the broadleaf canopy trees, the ones that the county of LA and the entire state is concerned about canopies because of air quality. I told you about this before, and of course everybody said, who gives a rip? She's just a noisy lady, right? Well, at some point it's going to end up costing this community some major dollars, some major embarrassment, and it's going to be unfortunate because it might actually be creating a situation where the young people who have asthma are going to the doctor far more often. Cleaning the air is everyone's responsibility, and that should not be limited to a couple of dollars and a couple of cents. Anywhere we go, real estate values increase based on the mature trees. And what we have today is a bunch of twigs and a bunch of empty places, and of course, the ever so important water-sucking palms. The ones that we should not be planting seems to be, I don't know, was it a campaign contribution or something, that we devoted ourselves completely and entirely to palms, non-native palms. How sad, how tragic. No, we're not Miami Beach, and even they are not planting more palms.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael, coming here. Number one, heard about all the money Inglewood's going to be saving. That's saved. That's great. I asked this city council to think about redirecting those saved funds for their parks and recs to, since it's an infrastructure aspect of saving money, saving trees, saving lighting, which is great. To allocate those funds to those parks and recs and those youth centers that need it, that aren't getting pushed out by the mega corporations in which align your pockets and everyone sitting on this board and endorse their campaigns. I also asked, just briefly, I see all the agenda items for open comment, which are lighting and very construction-based and city planning ordinances. Yet the closed session happened to deal with
Sir?
the law
Sir, you
enforcement.
could-
I'm just referencing.
No, right now you can only talk about the public hearings
Exactly.
on
But
the
I can,
districts.
but I can reference.
No, actually, you can reference that at the end, but right now this has to be about the assessment districts.
It is completely about the assessment district. Once you, my public comment is spoken, you'll understand the reference, not the actual subject matter of my comment being the closed session. Yet I can reference.
Actually, you can't.
So, like I was saying, as to the closed session agreement and as to it being based on a actual human life and human responsibility, yet everything else in open comment being about trees and funding, I asked the city council, the people would love to know about infrastructure. Yes, we would. We would love to know how our city can be beautiful, but we would also love to know the accountability aspect of the people that live in it and those that govern. And if we're gonna hold public comment and public debate and public and city council meetings and just discuss trees, we should really start holding agricultural city council and just call it what it is, because you're not addressing the issues of the citizens of this city and the most underserved citizens of this city. So I just request from this city council, just one guy just requesting that possibly when it has things to deal with human life, we make that public too, so we can all sit around and really talk about issues.
Close public comment. A motion to move 1 and 2 on items PH2, PH3, 4, and 5. Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson. Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. PH1.
That's the one you're gonna,
What's that? No, I'm calling PH1 now.
okay, so you're gonna table that one. Would you like me to read for that?
Right, after you call it, I'm going to table it.
The public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the Inglewood Municipal Code to create permanent parking district number 16.
We'll table the item until July 25th, 2017 at 2 p.m. Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
The next scheduled matter is a public hearing to receive input on a draft 5-year consolidated plan, including the fiscal year 2017-18 annual action plan.
Has the notice of the hearing been given in a time, form, and manner as required by law? And do you have the affidavit on file?
Notice has been given and affidavit is on file.
Has any communications been received on the matter?
No communications have been received.
Is there a staff report on the matter?
Yes, Mr. Harjinder Singh, our acting HUD Programs Manager, will give the staff report.
Welcome, Mr. Singh.
Thank you. I'm here to present the fiscal, the 5-year consolidation plan and the 2017-18 annual action plan. This plan basically covers the use of CDBG and So what are CDBG and home funds? CDBG stands for Community Development Block Grant. These are federal grant funds to provide services and assistance to households with low income. Home Investment Partnership Act, which are federal grant funds that are used to provide affordable housing opportunities for low-income households. So what is the definition of low income? Well, that comes from the Los Angeles County median income, which is $64,300. So 80% of that for a single person is $50,500. Okay, my apologies. Let me change it up a little. So 80% of the area median income means that you're considered low income, which is 50,500. If you make 50% of the area median income, you're considered very low income. And if you make 30% of the area median income, that's $18,950, you're considered extremely low income. So that's what these funds are for. They're basically for people that fall within these income groups. So this map here basically shows areas where 51% of the people in that geographical area are considered low income. So that means they're CDBG eligible. That means these are places where we can use these grant funds to try and improve the lives of the residents in the area. So one of the ways that we determine how we want to use these funds is through what we call the citizen participation process. And basically what we do is we reach out to the residents and we ask them to provide input on how we should spend these funds. We do this through 6 community meetings that were already held, where we explain the use of these funds and try and solicit input. On top of that, we sent out brochures with surveys that were mailed out to all Inglewood residents. In fact, we sent out 48,000 surveys and solicited input from the public to give us various priorities on how we should spend this money. So what we learned from these surveys, the surveys covered the following areas: community services, infrastructure, neighborhood services, special needs, and housing. So the survey result for community services basically told us that the community is where they want these funds to be utilized is for anti-crime programs, youth activities, and last for senior services. These are basically the top 3 responses that we got in every given area. The survey results for infrastructure were first for street improvements, sidewalk improvements, and last for street lighting. And for neighborhood services, trash and debris removal, cleanup of abandoned lots, and lastly for code enforcement. For special needs, for homeless services, health and mental health services, as well as neglected abused children services. And the results for housing were for our program to focus on affordable housing, followed by disabled housing, and lastly for home ownership assistance. So now that we heard from the public as to how these funds should be utilized, we now want to talk about what dollar amounts we're actually getting from the federal government. So in this instance here for CDBG funds, we're getting a total of $1,386,743. Unfortunately, that's a $37,000 decrease from the prior year. So I'll consistently have to do more with less in these instances. So this dollar amount, the overall figure, comes with restrictions on how we can spend it. So although we get input from the public, we also need to utilize the rules in which that we can spend in these given areas. So first is for public services. Those are things like senior meals and summer youth programs and things of that nature. So we're only allowed to use 15% of the funds for that. Administration is to pay for the employee costs for operating these programs. Public facilities, these are for capital improvements such as street repairs and sidewalk. So the most we're allowed to use of these funds is 65%. And that gets us to our total allocation of the amount of funds that we can use to address these issues. Next, here's the allocation for home funds. And we're getting $672,045 from the federal government. That's actually a $47,000 increase from the prior year. And some of the areas where we can use this money, community development housing organizations, we can only use 15%. Administration to pay for employee costs to run these programs, we can only use 10% of these funds. For eligible activities, 75%. I'll get into further what eligible activities are for home funds. So what is the city's plan to use these funds? That plan is called the 2017-18 Annual Action Plan. And what we do is we take input from the public as well as from staff and city council as well too, and try and determine the best ways to utilize these funds to meet the needs of the community. What we're recommending to use these funds for, these are for public services. And we want to basically allocate $120,000 to senior meals. Now, that's not the total amount that Parks and Recs uses for senior meals. They actually use a lot more. But what we find is if we subsidize an ongoing program, we can help more people at a lower cost. So by adding to an existing program, we can actually feed more seniors. And if you can see the allocation levels, that's actually the best way to get the most out of our money. We actually give money to summer youth programs at Rogers Park, Saminsky Park, and Lock Haven, $10,000 each. And we also fund something called the Fair Housing Counseling through the Housing Rights Center. That's $58,000 that we give to an agency that basically provides free services to tenants and owners for legal services to basically deal with tenant issues, and it's been something that the public has relied on tremendously. And if anybody's interested, they can reach out to the CDBG department, and we can provide that phone number for anybody who'd like to look into those services. Next, we are recommending that for public facilities, that we give $500,000 to the Parks and Public Works Department for street improvements. Now, $500,000 doesn't get you a whole lot of street work, but if that work is already being done in a CDBG eligible area from the map that I showed earlier, basically there's streets that are already being worked on. Well, we can get a little bit more work and cover some more of that street by adding our money to that. And if you notice from the survey earlier, this was one of the areas where the public definitely wanted us to focus our funds. So by adding it to existing projects within these areas, we can get more bang for our buck. Next, for the Parks and Recreation, we're recommending giving $145,000 to the Parks Department for capital projects. Now, we haven't determined those capital projects yet, but I'm sure our Parks and Recs director has plenty of ideas. And what that'll do is we will add this money to any existing projects that are already on the books. And what that'll do is close up that gap and allow the project to move forward. Next, we fund code enforcement. We give $255,400 for 2 code enforcement officers that work specifically in CDBG eligible areas. And if you notice from the survey, one of the top things that people were asking for was debris removal and also for lots and things like that to be maintained and kept clean. So a direct response to that is to fund the code enforcement officers. And last, this is our plan on how to utilize home funds. What we do in our group is we fund something called the Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Program. And I'd like to think about that as a smaller version of Section 8 where we can help a focus group of people. We're talking about veterans, we're talking about seniors, and we're talking about the disabled. So right now we help about 32 families on this program where we subsidize their rent and get them permanent housing. Okay? Next, we want to pull from our home reserves and do something new. This is called the Homeless Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Program. It's just like the other one, only it's going to be focused specifically on the homeless. Now, this is an integral part of our overall homeless program where we have hotel vouchers where we house the homeless for about 30 days and then try and find property owners that will rent to them for a 1-year lease and help them get stable and on their feet and hopefully into some type of permanent housing. So this is something new that we're trying here, and you know, hopefully it'll have a good response. Next, we are allowed to use 10% of these funds for home program administration. Those are employee costs to operate these types of programs. If you can see, we don't get a whole lot of money to try and run these programs, but we do try and run them as efficiently as we possibly can. The last is Community Housing Development Organization, which is $100,807, and we use those funds to supplement developers that are looking into affordable housing. Okay, and that gets us to our total budget for home funds of $1,072,045.
Thank you. Any members of the public that want to make comment and address the council on this matter? Close public comment is your motion.
So moved.
Oh, no, wait a minute, hold on. Please, come on. Right, on this topic, you,
So can I ask a question, or can I only give
actually, you can
comment?
address and you can say anything that you want, right? But he's not going to interact with you. Not a conversation, you can address, give your opinions on it.
So, in regards to the presentation, thank you very much. My name is Camila Mahone, by the way. I find the ratio of some of the programs, I'm curious, but specifically the ratio for the input. I know the community gave survey input. I'm interested to the response rate of the survey. Also, considering community gave input, the city council and maybe other parties gave input, I'd like to know how were those utilized in the final decision? How much voice of the community, like how was that specifically voted into the final recommendations? Also, the fact that $500,000 are spent on streets and $145,000 are spent on parks and recreation, I find to be interesting. I'm not familiar with the age population specifically in this community, but for senior meals to be $120,000, I understand it's an existing program. But for summer camps to 3 camps to get $10,000 each, that does not seem like a sound investment in the future of the community, but perhaps the community is, the age distribution is very heavily swayed to the older generation. I don't know, but investment in the younger generation definitely seems to be missing. And also curious about the $400,000 to the Something New homeless program. What type of support analytics show that this is a good investment for a first-time venture, and the fact that it is $400,000 and a very large part of the home budget. Oh, finally, the code enforcement, 2 officers, $255,000 to keep things clean and tidy, also I find to be concerning.
Thank you.
My name is Nancy Brown, and I'm going to follow up with the young lady because, you know, it is so interesting that, for me, I remember when that was $6 million a year. And now we're at not anywhere near that because of some of the, well, little things that people can look up on the audit reports on the internet. But I guess one of my concerns has always been and always will be, as she said, how much, and though I've tried years and years and years, nobody really seems to notice that children are important unless we can use them in a photo op. So once again, I'm going to comment, couldn't help but notice, nothing for the library.
Close public comment. Your motion.
I move items 1 and 2 as to PH6.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson,
Yes.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Consent calendar items 2 through 8 and C, SA 2.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Morales, council members Dodson,
Aye.
Padilla,
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. SPH 1.
Staff report requesting that a public hearing be set to consider an ordinance amending the Inglewood Municipal Code to establish permit parking district number 15 to include the following streets: Ivy Avenue between Beach Avenue and La Brea Avenue, Market Street between Hazel Street and Beach Avenue, and Edgewood Street between Beach Avenue and Warren Lane.
Set the public hearing for July 25th, 2017 at 2 p.m. SPH 2.
Staff report requesting that a public hearing be set to receive public comments on the City of Inglewood's 2017 Local Development Report and approve the city's conformance with Los Angeles County Congestion Management Program.
Set the public hearing for August 1st, 2017 at 2 p.m. 01.
Staff report recommending the introduction of an ordinance to approve the secure property tax rate for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017.
Motion to waive further reading.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye, and I'll introduce the ordinance. 02.
Staff report recommending adoption of an ordinance number 1710, amending the Inglewood Municipal Code to modify permit parking district number 4, adding 83rd Street from Victoria Street to Crenshaw Drive to the district.
I see it says, this is not a public hearing, but it says,
Why did we say receive
a
public
motion to
comment?
motion to waive further reading.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Move adoption.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye.
Mayor, can we go back to the consent calendar? Because we had an item on there, and I called it for the council, but not the council and the agency. So if we could just take that vote once again, that would
Is
be
that
great.
CSA 2? CSA 2.
Okay,
And I move
and it was
approval.
along with, okay, so you move.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Council and agency members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Yeah. Aye.
Mayor, Chairman Buds.
Aye.
Thank you.
A1.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a closed session at CS1, which was for a labor negotiations. The labor parties were the IPOA and Inglewood Police Officers Management Association. As to that matter, the discussion was held and direction given to staff. As to A2, there's no oral reports from the city attorney's office.
CM1.
No reports from the city manager's office.
CC1.
No reports. Thank you, Mayor.
I'm going to call you twice since I missed you last week. CC1.
Thank you. Thank you.
CT1, CSA 3, H2, and F1.
Monthly Treasurer's Report for the month ending March 31st, 2017.
Receive and file. CT2. Madam City Treasurer.
Thank you. Treasury report for March 31st, 2017. For the city of Inglewood, the funds under management, total cash and investments is $74,367,560. And the gross investment debt service interest earning was $450, and the interest earnings $36,249. For the successor agency, $159,427,772. And the debt service gross investment earnings is $16,921. Housing Authority, $101,698. Public financing, $13,549,964. And the debt service gross interest earnings is $3,325. Total funds under management is $247,446,994. And I'd also like to mention that there are copies of this report on the stand outside. It's about a 8-page report, so be sure to pick up a copy so that you can read it at your leisure. And also, this report will be published on my website by the end of the week. And also, I'd like to congratulate the Inglewood Unified School District salutatorian, Nahenda Krishna. She graduated from Morningside High School, and she's going to head on to my alma mater, UCLA. So I certainly want to congratulate them. It was actually 4 of them that actually received scholarships. So congratulations to all of the graduates of our high schools. That concludes my remarks and my report.
Thank you, Madam City Treasurer. Any person who wishes to address City Council on any matter connected with city business not elsewhere considered may do so at this time. 1 minute.
A few weeks ago, the mayor concluded the meeting by running down the track record of the city of Inglewood over the last 10 years. He itemized such matters as the Forum, and the Rams and the Clippers, the Chargers, the Super Bowl, eventually perhaps the Olympics. But at the same time as it's been a period of expansion and accomplishment for the city of Inglewood in the last 10 years, the past year and a half has been a time of contraction and deprivation for the families of Keisha Michael and Marquinton Sandlin. And I'm here today to ask the city to contribute to the Survivors Fund for the families of these two people who were killed by Inglewood PD in 2016. In addition to their parents and siblings and extended family, Michael and Sandlin are survived by 7 children. Obviously, money can never replace a parent or a family member, but the gesture from the city would say a lot about Inglewood, and so I think would a lack of support from the city. This accomplished city can and should contribute to the Survivor Fund for the families of Keisha Michael and Marquinton Sandlin.
Thank you so much.
Veteran 6667 County Subjector. To piggyback on what the gentleman just spoke to, the reason they can't get a copy of the videos from the 7-Eleven, the police videos, because they're doing what they call an internal procedure violation. They won't give them to you because you don't have access to them. If you read the paper, it's hard to violate the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. Assembly bill targets police cam footage where you can't get to it. You don't have access to it. They AQM, and what they did, they edited that film that night because I was the individual that they said the bald-headed. That was me. They AQM edits out video. That's what they do, and it's called propagandizing or profiling you with the videos. You don't have access to them, and that's why nobody's gotten them. To show you how bad it is, this is not just these collaborators down at our level. It runs from the federal government. Ethics, United States federal government ethics leader.
We're at time, Mr. Parker.
Resigned. He's been in there since
Mr.
Bush.
Parker. Mr. Sergeant Arms. Mr. Parker. Mr. Sergeant Arms, would you escort him out of the room because the meeting has to go on?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Myla Rockman, District Director for Senator Stephen Bradford. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out and supporting the Senator's Transportation and Diversity event. It was a very successful event, and we look forward to partnering with the city to have follow-up events. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Close.
Public comment, right? Okay. I want to come, first of all, I find it very ironic that we have to have a state senator step up where the city and the mayor would not. I find it real problematic how all of a sudden, after reality set in and truth was told, and people started listening to the reality of Mayor Butts' police department and the lies that they've been telling and the secrets in which they've been holding were shed to light, all of a sudden now through closed session, we actually, this city council actually then, after that, uplifts the rights to have closed session and to have a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, names the agency Human Resources Development Director
You're at time, sir.
representing Inglewood Department's Police Management
Sir,
Association.
you're at time.
It is funny.
You're at time, sir. You're at time, sir. Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.